Thank you. I am Jessica Ann, and I am the author of Woven in Time. It is a genre bending novel, so a little bit fantasy, a little bit historical fiction, a little bit dystopian, and a little romance all wrapped up in one book. I am an author, but I write fiction. I also write on Substack through my Substack called Wildest Dreams. And then I also run a company called STL Bookish Events, where I actually host in-person events in St. Louis.
So fun. Cool. Okay, first of all, genre bending. I haven't heard that term yet. I love it. Have you heard that, Katie?
No, I loved that. That was great.
That was so cool.
I can't stick to one genre.
Nor should you.
Term. I just loved it. As soon as I heard it, I was like, ah, okay.
Yeah. So similar books. I don't know if you've read like Wayward or Cloud Cuckoo Land. I'm trying to think of Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I love that book. Oh my
god. That is one, yeah.
Or even Outlander probably is one that kind of spans a few different genres.
Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, I love.
Yes.
Have you ever listened to it?
No, I didn't. I read it, yeah. But
both very good.
Good narrator.
Yeah, great narrator. Okay. Anyways, not about them. It's about you. So.
Yes.
Okay, so you have a lot of things in the works, like writing, Substack, creating book events. Where does your heart fall? What's your favorite thing to do?
So yeah, that's a big question for me, and because I have actually done a lot of, I feel like I've lived a lot of different lives and had a lot of different careers, but the thing for me that has always been the thread that has been woven through all of them is my love of people and my love of trying to understand why we do the things we do, understand the human condition. I love going deep diving into psychology and philosophy, and if you read my book, there's a lot of references to the archetypes and Carl Jung and those big philosophical questions of why we are here. And so that is kind of at the heart of everything that I do, whether it is my writing, whether it is having conversations with people. I also have a background in nonprofit work, and it's just I want to put beautiful things out into the world, and I want to make the world a better place. And so with everything I do, that's my main goal.
You're my hero.
Thank you. I'm trying.
Stephanie's obsessed with you now.
It took 22 seconds. I was like, oh, I need to know everything, all the things. We have to talk every day now. Yeah.
She's oh God, stalker. No, I'm just kidding.
Respectfully, of course.
So how did you always know that you wanted to be a writer? Tell us a little bit about your journey into being an author, and if that's something, that journey.
Yeah, so I have definitely always been someone that has stories in my head since I was a child. I think my first book ever was a fanfic of Alice in Wonderland. I continued the story into Alice becoming a teenager, and she met a cute boy and all that kind of stuff. But I've always had a really rich imagination, and I've been writing stories since I was little. Unfortunately, in 5th grade, I had a teacher's aide tell me one of my stories wasn't good. I thought it was amazing. It was Mars on ice. It was aliens took over ice skaters' bodies, which was the stars on ice. But anyways, as a kid, I took that to heart, and I honestly didn't write for a really long time. So I would often have stories in my head, but they'd kind of just be fleeting, and they'd go. And it wasn't until 2020, so actually my nonprofit cafe that I had closed. I was at home, kind of stopped going for the first time in years, and I had this idea, these honestly scenes kind of just started playing like a movie in my head of these 3 women. And again, I just took it as another just fleeting, imaginary story in my head. And after a couple weeks, they wouldn't go away. And if anything, they just kept getting stronger. These scenes just kept getting more crystallized. And I'm how are these 3 women connected to each other. And so I was like, oh, I should start writing this down. And so what started as Post-it notes of me just like, you know, giant, I taped a bunch of paper together, giant timeline, and just started writing down these different scenes that I was seeing, and quickly realized that it was much larger than just one book. And so this is a planned trilogy, but the entire story came to me in just the span of a few weeks back in 2020. And so there is one woman in the 1300s medieval England, and then so that's Miriam. She's being married off against her will by her father, so she's a 17-year-old. And then they're very like strong-headed, like strong-willed. And then Leah, who is my present-day timeline, she's a single mom going through a custody battle with her ex and dealing with debilitating migraines. Then Karaya is my future timeline in the 2300s, so it spans 1,000 years. She's living in a dystopian future after the United States has crumbled and the world has been rebuilt by tech trillionaires. So they're living in a corporatocracy. Yeah.
So like what's going to happen?
Yeah, basically that. I might have like pushed the timeline out too far, I think, but
yeah, it might be a little bit more in the immediate future, but sorry, we digress.
Yeah, and so all three women are learning how they're connected to each other and this prophecy at the same time that you as the reader are also learning how they're connected to each other. And this is just, the Woven in Time is book 1, and I am actively working on book 2 right now. Like I said, I already had it outlined, so I know how the whole trilogy goes. And I'm, hoping to have book 2 out by next year.
Amazing. So you do have a date that like beginning of the year, end of the year, or you just kind of like
I'm shooting for beginning of the year is what I'm saying. I don't want to put a date out yet, only because I am not a fast writer. I applaud all of the amazing people who put out like multiple books in a year. That is not me. I have to kind of wait for, like I said, the scenes to come to me and to be inspired. I do a lot of plotting too, and outlining and research to all my books. So I'm really excited because this book too is kind of the theme that came to me as the wild woman archetype. And so it's getting a little bit darker in book 2, and I'm kind of exploring what does that mean? How does the wild woman show up in society? How do we view her? And how all those kind of like different archetypes of the wild woman. I don't know if anyone's read Women Who Run with Wolves. Have you read that book?
I've heard of it. I knew it was like something. I know she's going to say something about that book with the wolves. And it's like, I think you bought it, Stephanie, last year. Did you read it?
No, I keep dabbling. I keep dabbling in it. Like I open it and then I read a page and then I close it and then I just try like opening to random pages. So, there's something about like my attention span, right? That I'm like, I need to give it the time and the space and nothing else. And the mountain, it feels like a mountain that I can't open because I'm like, there's something in this book I'm supposed to experience and I don't know what it is yet, but I'm like, I think I'm almost scared to like
interesting
learn it because I see it everywhere. I don't know. There's something to this book, and
for you, the universe.
I remember when you bought that when you were with me, I believe, right?
Yeah, we were in Saratoga, I think, at that book. I don't know what it is. Something to sit with because there's something in there that I'm apparently supposed to read and afraid to know. So,
okay, that's interesting. I wonder if it is like. Because she delves into like the wild woman, and a lot of the wild woman is seen as like taboo in our society. Is like that women are supposed to be a certain way, or quiet, or docile, and she explores these themes of women who are breaking through those molds, and what does that look like, and how do you embrace that side of you? And I think everyone has that, whether someone's a man or a woman or non-binary, like we all have this wild woman energy, this like creative, spiritual energy that exists in all of us. And so like, what does it look like to really tap into that? But sometimes it can be scary because it's powerful, right?
I don't think I could have put it better than what you just said. because like I fall into the stereotype of like I just turned 40, so I'm like in that, going through a divorce, midlife crisis. Like I fit into all of these specific stereotypes, and also lived a life of all the shoulds. So I did everything I was supposed to do. I did everything I should do, what everyone else wanted me to do. And I'm now very much pushing back on all the things and wanting to do the things that don't make sense to the outside. And the more I do that, I feel powerful. I feel excited. We like, especially with this podcast, like we just get handed these like, I don't know what the word is, but like you're do it. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
do it. This is beautiful. Like be like, I'm not articulating it, and I hate when I can't articulate these like really amazing things because they live in here and they don't translate to my mouth. But that's probably what this book is really giving, is like permission. And
I know what it is for you.
ironic, what?
I said I know exactly why you need to read that book, but you
Well, I
keep
was
going.
gonna say maybe I don't want permission because like I've been asking for permission my whole life. So maybe like I, in my own weird way, I'm like, am I just trying to give myself permission? I don't want to read it. Don't tell me what to do. I want to feel what to do. I don't want to like. I almost don't want to be able to give somebody some else credit. You know, like
I
I don't want
understand.
the inspiration from somewhere else. I want it to be like feel it, do it, be psyched about it. I don't know. Go ahead.
I think
Kate.
it's just going to be reassurance that you're on the right path because you are docile and quiet and consider. I mean, some of it's good, like being considerate, being kind, being generous, like all those things you shouldn't change. But I mean,
I
she's
will always
very
choose
soft
kindness,
spoken and
but
non-confrontational and not, you don't need to be a crazy person. But I do feel like you're going to step into a new version of yourself very soon. And you already have. But I think you're just at the tip of the iceberg.
Really exciting. So like I went through a similar period of time. So actually in 2020, so I went after my restaurant closed and I started writing this book. I was also at home and realized that I had reflected on my marriage of 14 years and realized I didn't want to be married anymore. And so it was a huge upheaval of, realizing I hadn't asked myself the question, what do I want? Maybe in my entire life. Because I had always been living for someone else, like whether it was my parents growing up, my husband, then my son, and it was always, not that you shouldn't do things for other people, but never having the ability to reflect and be like, what do I want in my life? What makes me happy? Like just even simple things, like realizing that, like, what do I want to eat? I had always been cooking for someone else. And so it was a scary time, lots of tears, lots of, being absolutely terrified to be a single mom for the first time. But I think it was also very freeing, and I would do it all over again. And I'm so happy where I am now, 6 years after, and I'm so happy I have this book out in the world, and I'm building a business, and it's been amazing. So I feel like all of the things will come to you as well.
Just trust it.
Exactly. Just trust the universe. That's literally the whole message of my book.
I'm in the middle of a mess, so I think I need your book. So
Yeah.
I mean, a great mess. Like still in the middle of, you just don't realize how much you rip open on a daily basis almost, right? Like how often you face these things and like how it's a constant, I don't want to say battle because it's starting to not feel like a battle. The hard things like almost feel exciting, right? Like this is another hard thing to do. This is another hard conversation to have. Like where am I going to be on the other side of this because I've seen positive results or I'm not the same person. So it's like it's starting to flip the switch of being exciting.
Yeah, I literally have a sticky note behind my desk that says, "Lean into the discomfort. It's where the magic happens." And I've like had to do that so many times of just being like, okay, yes, we're going to do the uncomfortable thing, the scary thing. But it really is where the magic happens, and it's where you end up finding the parts of yourself, finding what you're made of, you know, seeing what's possible, and like seeing where that like life will take you. And there's a lot of failure and mess ups too. But
what is failure, right? Like what actually is failure? With the right mindset, it's not. And I think, yeah, the more people you can touch with that message is like huge. So like you said, you love human behavior. You want to put these amazing messages out there. So the more people, I mean, obviously, like it's amazing when just the right person hears their message. But like if you can touch more people and multiple people and like give them that hope, like that's the goal, right? Like let's raise the frequency.
Real. Let's do it. Yeah, so I wonder, so in my book, Leah, who is my single mom going through a custody battle, I've been told like she is one of the most relatable of my characters because she is so flawed and so real. And so I think there's a lot of women our ages who, you know, who have been experiencing, you know, similar things. And I do, you know, I probably take her overboard in terms of, yeah, she's fictional, but yeah, she's an absolute mess for most of the book. But she figures things out for, you know, by the end.
No spoilers.
Besides, like, the fact that these characters were essentially screaming at you, like, for their story, right? These multiple things. Where else do you pull inspiration from? Like, how did it all weave together to be this amazing story?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So one of the things, like I said, I like to deep dive into subjects, and a while back, this was probably like 10 years ago at this point, but have you heard of the Nag Hammadi Library or the Gnostic Gospels? Okay, so
wait, the second one sounds familiar, but yeah, I don't know.
Basically, they're books that were written during times of like the biblical, like the Bible, but they're the books that didn't make the cut.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Okay. I have.
So, I haven't heard the term you said, but that I've heard of.
Yeah. So yeah, they're called the Nag Hammadi Library because most of them were found in this like buried urn in the desert in Nag Hammadi, Egypt, in the 40s, and then they got published as like a collection of works, but. A lot of them, you know, like I said, were written and then they were banned or like being told they, you know, had to be burned or destroyed or whatever in like the 300s after the Council of Nicaea, when they like canonized the books of the Bible. And so a lot of these texts really remind me of more like Buddhist in nature. They're definitely more philosophical. They're talking about like inner awakening. And what does that look like? There's a lot of like references to like Mary Magdalene.
And there's a lot of women that wrote.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, men and women being equal. And so obviously that doesn't go in line with what the Catholic Church was talking about at the time. So all of those stories kind of got, you know, put aside. And so I wanted to build this world upon those stories as if these people, so in the 1300s timeline, there is a secret mystery school, which that was a thing in the medieval times. There were a lot of secret mystery schools, and people were like dabbling in like occult magic and things like that. There was a lot of writings from different mystical Christians during that time period as well. And so I've read a lot of those texts, and so I wanted to build kind of the secret mystery school that was based on the Gnostic Gospels and these Gnostic practices. And so I built, so essentially some of these texts I have like made their way to England, and then they founded like a monastery, so they're like Benedictine monks, but really they practice magic. And so like the premise in my book is that magic is real, that humans are innately magical beings, and but then it's been suppressed over time, and so my characters are learning how to like release humanity's magic back into the world. But yeah, so yeah, that was like my big inspiration was like, I really like those stories of, because I believe we are more magical, and that's what it says kind of on the front of my book. It says, because it turns out we're more magical than we imagined. So I'm trying to remind people of their unique magic and innate magic that we all have.
So how did you deep dive those stories? How like did you research it just because you found it was interesting and then were inspired to make it and incorporate it into your book?
Yeah,
Or
so like
yeah.
I've done my own, I guess, spiritual exploration, and so I had read the Nag Hammadi, like a lot of the Nag Hammadi text already. Like, so that was probably closer like 10, 15 years ago, and then I've like decided when I was coming up with this story, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna weave all of this in.
Yeah. It's like super specific, and that's really cool. And it's very, very, very interesting to me for a lot of reasons. A, growing up Irish Catholic, knowing about that myself, wondering, I never read the stories. I've always been curious. I knew like it was a lot of women that wrote gospels that never made it, and I just never took the time to really look into it. But even more interesting than that to me is like the concept of everything that we know and believe is based on the canon of life, not the Bible, that has been given to us and what was chosen to be written down. Like, yes, we have science and we have, but like history in itself, right? That is like a canon, like the Bible, right? There's been men throughout all of the ages that have decided what is history, what is not, what is the spin on it. I think it was not the Iliad, was it? What was that book? I posted it on Facebook the other day, and it was like it had never been translated by a woman until recently. And when a woman translated the book, it was a totally different fucking story. And it was like a classic. And it just subtle, like the translation was wicked one, witch or something. In reality it meant like powerful woman or something. And just like little nuance, like tiny little nuances where like if you say wicked one or witch the entire book, the woman's the villain. But if you say powerful woman, suddenly she's the hero. And so I'm going like all over the place with this, but it's just such an interesting concept that like you made what was taken away the reality in your story, and like that's pretty original and groundbreaking to me to think about like in real life, like how much of the story that we've absorbed into who we are as human beings is a spin on what actually was and should
I
be.
think it was the Odyssey.
It was the Odyssey.
Ironically, yeah.
Yes.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I love that take, because like to think about how much of history has been erased, and probably a lot of it women, minorities, people who aren't in power, and like those stories are just as valuable and just as valid as the story, and sometimes more so depending on who's writing the history, right?
This has been like a very common theme right now.
Wilson. Sorry, just for context, it's Emily Wilson, and she did the Odyssey in 2017, and she did the Iliad in 2023. So that's
and it changes the story.
Yeah.
And this is like a very common theme that like personally I've been kind of so I have been very much researching my Irish heritage and the rewriting of a lot of the history of the Irish people, and watering down what actually happened to them, and the famine being called a famine when it was really like strategic and intentional and horrific and all the things that, and then like why I'm even scared to say it, so it's just like, and that's just one thing that's close to home to me that I have been hyper focused on. And the more and more I dig, the more I'm like, oh my gosh, how do I not know about this? Why don't I know about this? Why is this like one blurb in a history book and all of this horrendous, horrible, unjust, disgusting massacre happened to these people? You know what I mean? And it's like, I like, that's just, again, like that's just one little nugget. So
yeah, and that's the thing. It is just, that's one period of time, and then thinking about, did that happen other places, other time periods? I'm sure.
Of course it did. Of course it did.
The
magnitude.
This is, So this is a woman from the 1300s. I'm gonna butcher her name because it's French. But, Marguerite. I don't know how to say the last name, but it's called The Mirror of Simple Souls, and so it's one of the, and it's a hard read, even with it being translated into like more modern English. But again, I wanted to get into, like, originally when she published it like without her name on it, because as a woman she wouldn't have been able to publish a book in that time period. And so for a long time it just like carried on throughout history, like without anyone knowing who wrote it. And it wasn't until, like, I don't know how they figured out, like basically traced it back to her, and realized that it was a woman who actually wrote this. But it did also change some of like the translations, realizing, because originally they just assumed it was a man who wrote it in its like first iterations. But like a lot of it, she talks about this like ecstatic love with like the spirit, and like, you know, like having this very almost like existential, ecstatic experience with like spirituality and God and things like that. And I think that's just really interesting, especially coming from a woman in the medieval times. And so of course I'm gonna be adding in elements of that into book 2.
It's a very unique inspiration, and I really appreciate that. That's like, now you've you've got me thinking. I'm like, but isn't that's like got to be an author's dream, get people thinking, get people moved. Like, I didn't even read it, and you've like infiltrated my psyche and like the basis of how I view the world. And
So important. Wake us up. Wake us up.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, that's the exciting thing. I've worked with a lot of indie authors over the last year, and while I know it's every indie author's dream to become, you know, to hit bestseller and or to be traditionally published, because you want your works read by more people. However, I think there's something beautiful happening in the indie author community, and it's the ability to take more risks in writing. Because right now I think you see in the traditional spaces, whether it's even writing, movies, you know, shows, things like that, that have to kind of
conform
fall in a certain lane, because traditional publishers, which I don't, you know, they're running a business. They need to know things are predictable, which I get. But the beautiful thing about being an indie author is you can do whatever you want and you can write about whatever you want. And so I'm seeing a lot more writers. I have a really amazing writing community on Substack who are writing these stories and who are taking these risks and who are telling, you know, a lot of strong women who are going, you know, using writing almost as a form of therapy for themselves, but also then as readers too, of like going through these cycles and like healing. I just had, oh my gosh, this amazing Substack live that I did with a woman, Kara, a few weeks ago, and she's writing a book, and we were talking about healing generational trauma through like ancestral lines. And because she actually grew up Mormon and left the church and left her marriage, and so was going through some of this, like doing research on, I think it was her great grandma who was like, and anyways, it was an amazing story to just hear her writing process, but also to hear the healing that was happening not only in her life, but potentially like back through generations of women in her family. So,
That's really,
I don't know. I like I said, I believe in all of them. Like, that sounds amazing to me. And I think people are, you know, starting to explore more of those, you know, things that we can't explain necessarily with modern day science, but maybe we will someday.
And I think there's just something so inspiring if everyone just rallies to not fit in the box, right? Like you said, genre bending, but like just like, yeah, bending the rules and like just being the creative and getting to do literally whatever you want and putting it out there and being supported, like all of that. Yeah, just do it.
Yeah, so it's one, I'm currently working on writing a screenplay with someone, and I don't know I do now. I didn't know anything about writing a screenplay, and like there are some certain elements that have to be there, obviously, and it needs to make sense, and there's things that you need to do. but we've been like sending inspirational reels back and forth to each other of like writing teachers and amazing writers and directors and all the things. And like the resounding, that's not a word, is it? Whatever.
Yes, it is.
It sounds weird, you know, when you like say it in your head, you're like,
Great
that
word.
sounds funny. I'm like, I don't think I like that. Okay, so the across the board thing that stood out to me the most is like, take a risk. Like, yeah, do the things and make it make sense, but be risky. Do what you want to do. Be like aggressive, and I don't know, just like just go for it. Like,
The innovator.
it needs to be, you take risks, basically, even from the people that are like successful in a very conventional sense, right? They're like, no, do it. You just need to do it. You just need to light it all on fire, and you just need to put it out there. And it's like, cool. It's cool.
Like, we can all pretty much collectively agree that the world we're living in right now is kind of a shit show.
Yeah.
We're all ready to light it on fire, so whatever that means.
Exactly. And I think, like,
the message.
Yeah, we need your creativity. We need people thinking outside the box. We need people trying new things. And like we were saying about failing, like, it's not really failing, like, but like, we, you know, when you try something and like you just test it out and take those risks, I think like that's exactly what our world needs right now. And so we need, like, and I always think about this too in terms of stories specifically, is that there's somebody out there waiting for your story, like waiting to be moved by your screenplay, waiting to be moved like by my book. And it's our duty as creative people, you know, to put it out there in the world. And so it's like, and it's doing the thing we love. And so like for a long time, I also had similar, like, I should be doing this, I should be practical. You know, I grew up with parents who like wanted me to go into, you know, like business, which is funny because then I started like 5 businesses in my adulthood. I didn't have the traditional business background. I've always been told, yeah, like, be practical, like, stop, you know, being crazy and out there in the woods, like, do something that makes sense. But I continually ignore them. and it works out. And I have, like, it hasn't always worked out immediately, but it always eventually does. And so like that's what I always like fall back on and then the stories I hear of, you know, people who are inspired by what I'm doing, or like when I had my cafe, so a completely different, you know, thing, but I did a pay what you can cafe that served local and organic food to everyone regardless of ability to pay, and I did it in rural Missouri.
That's risky.
And people thought I was crazy. And it worked for 5 years. You know, it wasn't until, unfortunately, COVID shut it down, but it was amazing. And I just remember that, like, we need your unique magic in the world, whatever that is. And you can reinvent it like 500 times if you want.
Like, that's amazing that it worked for 5 years. Like, the only reason is COVID. Like, and that shut everybody down, right? Like, that wasn't.
That's crazy. I mean, I'm not crazy. I should, like, I'm calling you crazy now. No, not your idea that it worked is surprising, I suppose is the right word that I'm looking for. I'm surprised that it worked. That's amazing. That's really, that's like,
I would love that. Like, I would love to walk into a store that said that. Like, I'd probably overpay because, like,
yeah,
not that I, like, this is amazing. I'm going to make up for the people who, like, can't, maybe, right? Like, balance it out. I'm pretty obsessed with that idea. Like, that's so cool.
People still ask me to bring it back, but
yeah, like, you're on a new wave. This is the new journey. You did that. You showed that it worked. And okay, that's so cool though.
You can always revisit it. I love that.
Love that you live this like creative outside the box experience too. Like, just in what you're doing right now, like, you're finding a way to make it work, and it's creative, it's different, it's, you know, and then who knows what the future brings. So you're living it, right?
Yeah, I'm trying. It's crazy because a few months ago, like, so I published my book in December of 2025, and I was so, like, I was lucky to have a really great launch. reviews, and then but obviously, again, being an indie author wasn't enough to like support me, but I had quit my corporate day job, and so I started applying for other jobs because I was like, I'm running out of money. I had so I quit. I guess I'll rewind. I quit my corporate job in December 2024, when I got the inkling of like, I need to do something creative again. My soul's crying out. And but I had not even edited my book at that point. So like, I wrote it back in 2020. It sat on my computer for 5 years. I didn't do anything with it. And then, so I hired an editor, went through like ridiculous amounts of edits, and all of that jazz. And then I finally published in December 2025. But I basically ran through my savings after an entire year. And so I was like scrambling. I was like, I'm a single mom. I have to
find a way feed your
kids. Support my family. I'm like kind of freaking out. I've applied, like it was, I will say this was like, what, February probably of this, like just a few months ago, like rock bottom of like freaking out every day, in tears, not knowing how I'm like, am I going to have to go get a job I have a master's degree. I'm like, am I going to go get a job at Walmart because I have to make ends meet? And that was where I was at. And then I put out one little post about doing book events because I'm an extrovert also, which is unique for an author.
Yes, it is.
And I was like, if I can talk to people and also sell my book, I think I can make. And so I put one little post out on social media. I was like, hey, would anybody be interested if I organized a book fair for authors in St. Louis? And it blew up. And people were like, yes, sign me up. I want to go. Tell me when you have this. And so I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, can I
doing this now?
Hosting events? Because when I had my nonprofit cafe, like we hosted festivals. I did events all the time. And so I was like, I know how to do this. And we had our first event in March at a brewery in St. Louis, and we had 300 or 400 people show up. We had 30 authors. It was amazing. The brewery was not prepared for how much readers wanted to drink and buy books.
No, yeah, that's perfect. Having alcohol there, yes.
Yeah, so it was amazing, and that just like, and overnight I literally like just built another business. So that's what I'm doing now.
Saying like you were stressing, but the universe answered. Like, here's something in that creative aspect. We got you. Don't worry.
Yes. Yeah.
So cool.
I would have, loved it if it was like a less stressful moment, but no, it worked out. Yes. And I am so thankful because I honestly, I love it so much. I have time to write book 2. I have a waiting list. I have over 130 authors now who have applied for my events in the rest of 2026.
How many times are you doing multiple a year?
Yeah. Oh, I have 10 more events booked.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Good for you. So like, how can we support you? How can we be involved? How can the listeners and readers, find out more about you and all the things we talked about, and like kind of like end on that note?
Yes. Yeah. So yes, obviously by Woven in Time. And if you are watching this, I have a copy here so you can see the cover.
Oh, very pretty.
Beautiful. Love it.
But yeah, by Woven in Time. You can follow me on all socials as Jess Ann Creates. I kept it broad because I know myself, and I'm not just a writer. I'm lots of things. So yeah, also if you're on Substack, you can follow me there. Like I said, I tend to write more about like my philosophical and spiritual musings through my Substack. And then, if you're in the St. Louis area, you can come to one of my events. Of course, people have already asked me to like expand out, and I'm like, we're focusing. No, exactly. Give it some time. But yeah, I think the biggest thing that I want, honestly, is not for people to follow me, but like we were just talking about, everything we just said, like to follow your own magic, to like listen to that intuition, to listen to that inner guidance. Like, what is the thing that you love most in the world and that you want to see bloom in the world? And don't keep that to yourself. Like, share it. Our world needs it. And that's the thing that I want the most.
She's about to make me cry.
Oh my
I think I
Maybe
just said
Rob.
most of those things like on our social, right? Like I think I just put out like the world needs your magic and be the kindness you want to see in the world. Like it's so important. Like that's the message, right? Like that's the message. We need
And
that.
that's probably why I was attracted to your, like when I saw your guys' podcast, I was like, these people get it. Like, you guys get it.
We get it. We want to support you. We want to follow it. We want it. Yeah.
We definitely get it. Thank you so much. This has been incredible. Getting to know you, getting to hear your soul, I feel like is here and raw and on the table. And that's just something that no words can really describe my appreciation for. Thank you for being vulnerable and open and honest, and you.
Thank you so much for having me. This was amazing, and I appreciate the work and effort that you're doing, and it really does show in your guys' podcasts and on your channels and things like that. So thank you for giving me this spotlight to talk about my book and my
Honored. Totally honored. Thank you.